3 months ago, you were a different person, not on the outside, something deeper, something you can't fully explain. You feel it when conversations don't hit the same, when people you used to talk to daily now feel distant, when things you once loved feel empty. Nothing around you changed, but your experience of everything did. And here's the part no one tells you. This isn't random. This isn't confusion. Something inside you just shifted. Before we go further, tell me where you're watching from. Most people never notice this moment because it doesn't announce itself. There's no clear before and after, no big event, no dramatic realization. It happens quietly, in the background of your life. You slowly lose interest in things you used to care about. You stop enjoying conversations that once felt exciting. You start questioning goals that once felt important, and it feels wrong. It feels like something is broken, like you're losing yourself. But what if that's not what's happening? What if you're not falling apart, you're being rebuilt? Because your mind is doing something most people never understand. It's running a filter, checking everything in your life, every habit, every relationship, every goal, and asking one question: does this still match who you are? And anything that doesn't match anymore starts to fade. That hobby you loved, it belonged to an older version of that friend group. It kept you in patterns you've outgrown. That plan you were chasing, it was built on assumptions that no longer apply. And now, your system is rejecting it. That's why forcing yourself to care feels exhausting. That's why everything feels heavy, because you're trying to hold on to something that no longer fits. But here's the question: if everything is fading, then what's replacing it? This is where it gets uncomfortable, because what replaces it doesn't arrive immediately. Instead, you enter a space most people can't handle. Silent, not external silent, internal silent. No strong desires, no clear direction, no excitement pulling you forward. And your first instinct is to fix it. You try to fill the space. New habits, new goals, new distractions, anything to avoid feeling lost. But here's the truth: that silence is not empty. It's listening. For the first time in a long time, you're not drowning in noise. No constant stimulation, no forced productivity, no pressure to feel something. And in that quiet, something subtle starts to appear. A small interest, a random curiosity, a quiet pull towards something you can't explain. It might not make sense. It might feel small. It might even feel pointless, but it matters, because those small signals are clues. Your real self is starting to show up, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. And here's the mistake most people make: they ignore it because it doesn't match their old identity, because it doesn't feel important enough. So they go back to what's familiar, back to what's expected, back to what feels safe. And that's where they lose the transformation. But what happens if you don't go back? You enter what feels like a strange space, a space where nothing fully fits. Your old life doesn't feel right anymore, but your new life hasn't formed yet. And that creates a feeling most people aren't prepared for. It feels like floating, like being in deep water with no ground beneath you. You're not sinking, but you're not stable either. And every instinct inside you starts reacting. It tells you to panic, to grab onto something. Anything that feels familiar. Go back to old habits. Reconnect with old people. Return to what used to make sense. But what if that instinct is the problem? What if trying to go back is exactly what's keeping you stuck? Because this space you're in right now isn't empty. It just feels that way. In reality, it's clearing. Everything that once defined you is being removed. Not because something went wrong, because something new needs space to exist. Think of it like soil. When a field is cleared, it looks empty. It looks lifeless, nothing growing, nothing visible. But that doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means the ground is being prepared. It's ready. And this is where most people make the mistake. You've been taught your entire life that emptiness is bad, that you should always be full of plans, full of direction, full of purpose. So when that feeling disappears, you assume something is wrong. You think you've lost yourself. So you rush. You try to fill the space as quickly as possible. New goals, new distraction, new routine, anything to avoid sitting with the unknown. But that's what keeps you stuck. Because when you rush to fill empty space, you don't choose carefully. You choose quickly. And quick choices often come from old patterns. So you end up rebuilding the same life you were trying to leave behind. Different details, same structure, same feeling. That's the loop. And the only way out of that loop is patience, not passive waiting, not doing nothing, but allowing space. Because what's coming next cannot be forced. You can't think your way into it. You can't rush your way into it. You have to let it emerge. And here's the part most people miss. The next version of your life will not arrive loudly. There will be no big moment, no sudden clarity, no dramatic realization where everything makes sense. It will arrive quietly. So quietly that if you're distracted, you'll miss it. And if you miss it, you'll go back to what feels familiar, back to what feels safe, back to who you used to be. But if you stay present, something begins to happen. There's a moment coming, and you won't see it coming. You'll be doing something ordinary, walking, sitting, drinking coffee, nothing special. And then suddenly, you'll feel something, not excitement, not pressure, just a small shift, a quiet sense of interest, something that feels real, something that doesn't require effort. It won't be loud enough to demand your attention. You have to notice it, and it might not make sense. It might not match who you were before. It might not look impressive. It might even feel too small to matter. But it does, because it's yours, and that's the difference. This time, it's not something you picked because it looked right. It's not something you chose because others expected it. It's not something you're forcing yourself to care about. It comes from you, natural, without effort, without pressure. And that's why it matters, because that small spark is the beginning, not the full picture, not your purpose, not your final direction, just the start. And here's where people mess it up. They try to turn that small spark into something big immediately. They try to define it, label it, turn it into a plan, and the moment they do that, they lose it. Because it wasn't meant to be controlled, it was meant to be explored. So don't rush it. Follow it slowly. Give it attention without pressure. Let it grow at its own pace. Because what's happening right now is not you losing yourself. It's you meeting yourself, the real version, the one that existed before expectation, before pressure, before you learned to perform. Everything falling away right now was never truly you. It was roles you played, patterns you repeated, strategies you learned to survive, and now they're dissolving. Not because you failed, because you're ready for something real. So let it happen. Let the interests fade. Let the connections change. Let the old goals disappear. Not out of fear, but out of understanding. Because what's coming next couldn't exist while those things are still there. And if you can stay in this space, without rushing, without forcing, without going back, you'll start to see something you've never seen before. A life that actually fits you. Not the version you were told to become, not the version you thought you had to be, but the version that was always there, waiting for you to stop filling the space so it could finally appear. There's one thing I didn't say at the start. This feeling? It's not the end. It's the beginning, so don't run from it. Watch this next video. It shows you exactly how to handle this phase without going back to who you were. Stay with it.